You've given budgeting a go and you just can't seem to get the numbers to work for you. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you 12 reasons why your budget isn't working for you and steps you can take in order to fix it. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, thank you so much for stopping by. My name's Tolu, and on this channel I share content all around personal finance, budgeting, frugal living, and I show you how to live your best life on a budget. In today's video, what I'm going to be doing is really talking you through 12 different reasons why your budget may not be working for you right now, and things that you can really do and start applying from today in order to get that budget working for you and get the numbers making sense. Because I truly believe that budgeting is the key to financial breakthrough. By getting to grips with your numbers, understanding exactly where your money is coming and going, you're really going to be able to start mastering your money and seeing that you have so much more of your money left over at the end of the month for you to do the things that are important to you. So number one, your expenses exceed your income. When your expenses are so much higher than your income, it's impossible to get your budget to work and get the numbers to add up. So where you can, find ways in which to reduce your expenses and find ways to generate additional streams of income so that your income starts to exceed your expenses as opposed to it being the other way around. Now I know that sounds easier said than done, but there are so many ways that you can reduce your expenses. So in the area where you have variable expenses such as your groceries and even transportation costs to a certain extent, find ways to trim those areas down so that you can find more money to save and put towards other areas of your budget where you need that money. You don't allocate fund money to yourself, and because you don't have a fund budget, it means that you end up dipping into your other budget categories as the month goes on. So give yourself permission to spend, give yourself permission to have fun, and you find yourself getting a lot better with your budget. So fun is so crucial, it's so essential on this journey, whether you're paying off debt, whether you're saving for a house, whether you want to start investing, whatever your future financial plans and goals are, it's important to factor fun into the equation, because if you don't have fun, then what's the point really? At the end of the day, we're only here for a short amount of time, so it is important that you enjoy the moments, but give yourself a budget for fun, no matter what it is, whether it's £20 a month, £100 a month, £500 a month. You know within your budget what you can realistically afford to give yourself to spend on leisure, but just make sure it's something so that you can actually commit to the process. You haven't given it enough time. That is another reason why your budget isn't working for you. I mean, you've done it with 1 month, 2 months, and you're like, nah, this thing isn't working, I'm not doing it anymore. But the reality is, with budgeting, it's an ongoing thing. You're gonna have to keep revisiting it on a monthly basis. You're gonna have to reevaluate your budget, see what works, see what's not working, see where you can make cutbacks, see where you can make adaptations. So maybe it might be that for now, the pen and paper method is just too tedious for you, and you need to use an app that are budgeting apps that you can use in order to manage your budget in a more automated way, so that you're not having to manually actually write out the numbers every single time you make a transaction or every time you want to do your budget. But then at the same time, you can also use Excel spreadsheets. So I have my budget template, which is what I love using on a monthly basis, but that might not work for you. But the reality is, there's so many different budgeting methods out there. There's so many different ways that you can budget your money. So don't just quit at the beginning because you feel like it's not working. Keep at it, keep giving it time, adapt and change and alter the budget as time goes on, and you'll find yourself getting better at it the more you do it. I've been budgeting for years now, and I still have to adapt and I still have to change my budget on a monthly basis, and I don't always get it right, but I stick to it, I keep going, and the more I do it, the better it does get, and it does get easier as time goes on. You start to find a rhythm and a flow of things, and then you just keep going and keep going until you get to that financial destination in which you're trying to reach. I always say the road to financial freedom and financial independence, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, it's not going to be an overnight thing, it's going to take time, it's going to take work. But I truly believe that if you stay committed to the process, keep up with the budgeting, keep on top of your numbers, you will eventually get there. Another reason why your budget isn't working for you is because you're not being self-disciplined, you're not disciplining yourself, and you're not practicing delayed gratification. And by not doing these things, what you're doing is robbing your future self, and what you're doing is hindering your budget and making progress with your finances. So definitely, where you can, exercise some self-control. So going back to a point I made earlier about the importance of having fun money, I think when you don't have allocation for fun money, for takeaways, etc. within your budget, you just find yourself spending money that you shouldn't be spending because you haven't given yourself that leeway or that permission to spend and have some kind of leisure activity. I really do believe that one of the greatest acts of self-love is self-discipline, and I think if you can can get disciplined when it comes to your money and your finances, learning how to say no to yourself when you want to get something that you may have the money to buy, but that money has been allocated to something else. Saying no to yourself because you know that money has a different purpose and a bigger need. It's really going to help you grow. It's really going to help you get on top of your finances and really learn how to master your money. Another reason why your budget isn't working is because you're not budgeting for annual expenses. These annual expenses like car insurance, road tax, MOT, even birthdays, Christmas, all these events that come up once a year, you haven't factored that into your budget. And because you haven't factored it into your budget, your numbers never seem to add up, and your numbers never seem to make sense. I did a whole video actually on this topic, which is sinking funds. And sinking funds are the perfect solution to this point in which I'm making here, which is these annual expenses that arise that you haven't budgeted for. A sinking fund will allow you to save up incrementally on a monthly basis towards that yearly financial goal. So for example, Christmas, which I just mentioned, that comes obviously the same time every single year. And by having a sinking fund and you're saving money on a monthly basis towards Christmas, it means come November, Christmas isn't a surprise because you've prepared for it throughout the year. So I think if you don't have sinking funds incorporated into your budget yet, it's definitely worthwhile including it in your budget from now. So I did a whole video, which I'll link here, talking about sinking funds, how beneficial they are to your budget, and the different sinking funds that I currently have for my family and my finances. I know your ones will definitely be different, but definitely if you don't have sinking funds in place, definitely start a few and you'll find yourself doing a lot better with your budget. Another reason why your budget isn't working is because it's unrealistic. I know that's something that definitely I can say happened to me earlier on this year with my food budget in particular. I wasn't setting a realistic food budget every month, hence why every single month I ended up overspending big time when it came to our food category. That was because I wasn't being realistic in terms of how much it will cost to feed my family of 5. Me wanting to feed my family on a budget of £150 just wasn't feasible, which is why we kept on going over every single month. And if that is you and that's your situation and you're saying that you want to spend £100 on food and you're spending £500 on food, then maybe you need to ask yourself, is this a realistic budget that I'm setting myself? And if it is a realistic budget, then you're really going to have to work on that self-discipline so that you stick to that budget, and in that way it won't feel like the budget isn't working. It's more that you're not managing the money effectively and you're not being self-disciplined. So it's definitely worth asking yourself these questions. Am I being realistic with these budgets that I'm setting for the different spending category? Is it realistic for me to say that I'm not going to have a takeaway for the next 6 months? If it's not realistic, then be honest with your budget and be realistic with your budget that you're setting yourself. If you know that you're not going to be able to go 6 months without having a takeaway, then there's no point putting that in your budget because you're just going to end up failing even before you started. So set yourself more realistic budget goals and then you'll be more likely to actually stick to it. A big mistake that I see people make a lot of times when it comes to budgeting is being very restrictive with your budget and not being adaptable and flexible with your budget. It is important to be flexible and adaptable with your budget because reality is seasons come and seasons go. Things change, our circumstances change, our lives changes. You could be working today and tomorrow be made redundant. We all go through different life stages at different times, and sometimes things happen external to us that are beyond our control, and we need to be able to adapt to that change. We need to be able to adjust and amend the budget accordingly. One mistake that I see people make a lot is you make the budget and you think, yeah, that's it, I've done my budget, I'm set, I'm sorted. But it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. You really do need to revisit that budget month in, month out so that the numbers keep making sense. They may make sense today, but they may not make sense again tomorrow if you haven't adjusted and adapted to the situation. Life is going to happen whether you prepare for it or not. One of the reasons why your budget may not be working for you is because you don't have an emergency fund. And by emergency fund, I mean a rainy day fund. I mean a pot of cash that you can dip into as and when you need to when an emergency arrives. So emergencies aren't things like Christmas and birthdays because these are events that we know are going to come up and we're going to need to spend money on. Emergencies could be things like, I don't know, your car breaking down or something, or a tax bill that you hadn't planned for that all of a sudden creeps up on you that you then need to pay. So sometimes there's expenses beyond our control, expenses that we never saw coming, we didn't foresee and we hadn't planned for. Those are expenses in which your emergency fund will be needed, because what you don't want to keep doing is dipping into money that is being allocated a task to pay for these emergencies, because all that's going to happen is you're going to use that money to pay for this emergency, which will then mean you don't have money to pay for the thing that's in your budget. So definitely where you can, start building that emergency fund, whether it's £5 a week, £10 a week, whatever you can commit to, just commit to something and start building that emergency fund, and you'll see it grow over time. Another reason why your budget may not be working for you is because there's some expenses that you just missed off of the budget because you probably thought they weren't that important, but every single transaction adds up and contributes to your bottom line of your budget. So things like travel, for example, you may have included in your budget that, you know, it costs me £100 to get to work every single month, but what you may not have included in your budget is costs of parking when you go shopping on a weekend, going to the NCP car park and you have to pay £3 an hour. That might not have been included in your budget, but all these little expenses add up in the long run and they will have an impact on your budget, hence why it will come at the end of the month and you're thinking, I did the numbers, why are they not adding up? But the reality is you haven't considered expenses like that, expenses that you think are not important or are not that significant, but it still makes a difference and it still impacts your bottom line. So one thing that I would definitely recommend to do to help you if this is an issue that you're struggling with is go through your bank statements and literally item by item, line by line, make note of all the different transactions you've made and see where exactly your money has been going. So when you see where your money's been going, you'll be able to better forecast where to spend your money moving forward. Another reason why your budget may not be working is because you focus so much on the actual tools that you're using and less on the actual budget. So whether you're doing pen and paper, writing out the numbers, or you're using an app, or you're using an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Sheet spreadsheet, whatever method you're using for your budget, it doesn't take away and it's not any more important than the budget itself. So I think it's important to definitely focus on the budget and focus on the numbers and not be distracted and too consumed in the method in which you're using or the tools in which you're using for the budget. The main thing is really finding out those numbers and staying on top of those numbers. The danger of using these different tools is that you get so consumed and caught up in the hype of them and the excitement of them, but then once that excitement dies, so does the budget. You might be like, oh, I've got this new budgeting sheet, yeah, I can't wait to plug all my numbers into it, and then you plug all your numbers into the spreadsheet and it all looks fantastic, and then that's it, like you're done and you don't look at the budget again. It's important to still keep the same energy, keep that momentum going even when the hype has died and even when you don't feel like doing it, because you know that you're working towards a bigger goal and it will be worth it in the long run if you stick to your budget. Another reason why your budget isn't working is because you're not tracking your expenses. Now I know, don't switch off here. Tracking expenses can be quite a tedious task, but particularly in the early stages when you're still learning how to budget and you know you're not really on top of the numbers just yet, I think tracking your expenses will definitely help you stick to budget and help you get your budget working for you, because you'll know exactly where all your money is going on a daily basis and you'll be able to reel yourself back in if you're getting carried away with your spending and you're spending way above the budget in allocated amount. Having that tracking, having that reference point and being able to go back over the numbers and see exactly what you've been doing with your money will really help you get on track and help you stick to your budget. The final reason why your budget may not be working for you is that you've overcomplicated it. You've made it too difficult, too tedious and too time consuming for you to actually make it work. And I know that kind of sounds contradictory to the last point I made, which is that you should track your expenses as regularly as you can, but equally track it in a simplified way. So where you can, automate the budget, make it as simplified as possible so that you're not spending too much time on the budget and it doesn't feel like it's taking over your life and feels so unbearable and so overwhelming to the point that you just run away and just don't want to do it. So those are some of the reasons why your budget isn't working for you. If you can think of any other reason that I haven't mentioned, leave it in the comment section below. So if these points that I've made in this video really resonate with you and budgeting is something that you're just struggling with and you're not really able to get to grips with, and you want to have this conversation with somebody, you want help with your budget, help with getting a budgeting plan that works, then definitely hit me up in my DMs or drop me an email or book yourself in for a coaching call via the link below, and we can talk through your numbers, talk through your finances and see how I can help you on your financial journey. If you haven't yet given this video a thumbs up, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you're yet to do so. Share this video with a friend, with a family member, with a loved one. And that's literally it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you on my next video. Take care for now. Bye.